Hello, image design students. This is Mrs. Brown, and in this recording, I will be going over how to complete the Unit 11 graded assignment. So first things first, you're going to go ahead and open up GIMP. You will then, click File, Open. You will navigate to wherever you have your image design folder on your computer, whether it's on your desktop or in your documents. In your Unit 11 folder, you're going to open up the image that says leaves. And you'll have an image with a bunch of leaves. First things first, we are going to save this image. File, Save As. Make sure it's in your Unit 11 folder. And we're simply going to type colored at the beginning, colored leaves, and click Save to get us started. So in Unit 11, you are introduced to several selection tools. If you look over in your toolbox, the selection tools are all right about here. Okay, and the selection tools that you're going to be introduced to are the Free Select tool, the Fuzzy Select tool, the Scissor Select tool, the Foreground Select tool, and the Paths tool. So the first tool we're going to take a look at is the Free Select tool. But before we get started, we're actually going to zoom in on one leaf. So to do that, you're going to click your Zoom tool in the toolbox. You're then going to draw a box around one leaf. You want to make sure the entire leaf is in that box, and you'll have one leaf in view. Now, if you accidentally click on your screen, you'll notice that you can zoom in way too much, and you'll simply just go back to View, Zoom, and then revert zoom to get back to where you were, or if you even need to get back to 100% to your original image to start over, that's just fine. So zoom in on one leaf, and we're ready to begin. So we are going to click the Free Select tool right here, and we're going to click and drag to trace the leaf's edge. I want you to imagine that you have a pencil and that you're literally just tracing around the leaf's edge. Now, this does not need to be perfect. After all, you are using a mouse, and that will eliminate perfection unless you have just a super steady hand. And if you do have a super steady hand, I'm impressed. So as you click and drag, you're just gonna keep going around the entire leaf. So take your time, no rush. Whoops, you see I kind of messed up there, but that's okay. Go ahead and leave it. Don't fret if you did it again. We are going to fix that. We're going to show you how you can fix your selection if you kind of mess up. Okay, so when you get back to your starting section, you're going to double click right on that starting point to finish up. And you're going to see these dotted lines, and that shows you your selection. Okay? So you're going to make sure you do it till you've selected the whole leaf. Now our next step, you can see your selection, but as you can see right here, I kind of didn't include this part of the leaf or this part of the leaf, and maybe I went outside of the leaf. So we're going to use what we call a toggle quick mask, which we use the paintbrush to kind of help ourselves fix up our selection. So in the select menu, we're going to go down to where we see toggle quick mask, and we're going to turn it on. And this is what you'll see. So to use the toggle quick mask, you are going to select the paintbrush, and then over here in the bottom right dock, you're going to select your brushes tab, and then I would suggest using the hardness 100, 51 by 51. Now you can use any brush you want to do this, but this is a good starting point just because it's a good solid brush. Then you're going to see the size. That's obviously pretty large. I would suggest starting around 4, but you're going to play around with the size as you go. You might need it smaller, you might need it larger. It just depends on the corrections that you need to make. So over here in your foreground background color button, you want to make sure the color is set to black. Black is on top, so that tells us what color our brush is. And you're going to just kind of with your paintbrush shave off any black areas, and it's going to just fix up your selection. And you can change your brush size smaller or larger as you go. I'm just going to do ever so slight here on these tiny areas. And it does not have to be absolutely perfect. Remember, I am not expecting perfection. You just clean it up the best you're able to. Okay, so that helps us you get the idea of how to fix your selection on the exterior edge. Now you'll notice that on top of my leaf you see these red areas. Now to fix those, you're going to change your toggle quick, your foreground background color over here. Just click this arrow to put the white on top, and then you will be able to fix the inside of the leaf by clicking and dragging on any of those red areas, as you see there. I'll add your selection. Now at any time, if you want to see what your selection is looking like, you can turn off the toggle quick mask. And you see I kind of went out of the lines there a little bit more than I like, so I'm going to go back to my black on top and fix that part of my selection. So just go ahead and fix it till you have a pretty good leaf there. You'll then click your select menu, go down to toggle quick mask to turn it off, and now you see your selection. The next step is we are going to copy our selection, and then we're going to paste it onto a new layer. Okay? So we're going to click Edit Copy. The shortcut is Control-C. Then Edit Paste. The shortcut is Control-V. And you'll notice over here in your layers list that we have a floating selection layer. We need to come down to our Add New Layer button and click it one time, and we have our pasted layer. I then can double click, and I'm going to name this Leaf 1 and hit Enter. Next step, now that we have on a new layer, we're going to select the Leaf 1 layer, and we're going to change the color of this leaf. We're going to click the Colors menu, come down to Hue, Saturation, and we're going to adjust the hue, saturation, and lightness sliders of this leaf. There's no exact way that you need to do this. It's completely up to you. So I'm going to go with something like this. Click OK, and you have a colored leaf. Now you need to click View, Zoom. We want to get back to our 100%, so we have this whole leaf, all of the leaves in view. And this is a super important step, one that you cannot miss. Make sure that you now click the bottom leaves image. As we select our next leaf, you do not want to be on this layer. Okay, get back to that bottom leaves image. All right, so next we are going to use the free select tool again. However, instead of dragging and tracing like a pencil, we are going to kind of click points. So these steps will remain the same how we get started. This is the alternate free select. So in the layers list, make sure this bottom leaves layer is selected. Then click your zoom tool. You're going to repeat this over and over as you go. Draw a box around the next leaf you want to color. Make sure that you have the entire leaf in view. Kind of had my top out there, but now I see it. Your entire leaf. And now using the free select tool again, instead of clicking and dragging like we're tracing with a pencil, we are going to click repeatedly around the leaf's edge, kind of creating points. Now you can do as many as you want. Oops, I just closed that selection, which I did not want to do. I'm going to start over. I double clicked a point there. So you can see you can do as many as you want. And as you get down here, oh goodness. My mouse is being a little touchy. Why does it keep doing that? Okay. I'm going to do longer selections to hopefully not allow that to happen again. You'll see sometimes you have to just keep going. You can see that this is not perfect. Once again, that's okay. Now, I'm doing longer lines. You can do as many as close together as you want. I'm trying to avoid my mouse creating a selection. Try not to double click on a point. If you double click on a point, it's going to do what it's been doing to me. My mouse is super sensitive and keeps creating points. So I'm going to pause the recording, but you can see what I'm doing there is clicking around the entire image of the leaf. So I'm going to do it and then we'll come back and resume the recording, but that's what you're doing. Okay, so now you have been selecting all these points around your leaf. When you get back to your starting point, you're simply going to double click this starting point and it's going to create a selection. You can see the dotted lines shows you that is a selection. Okay, now you can now click a different tool to kind of get rid of this selecting point. It would let you continue to select different points. I'm going to go ahead and click the paintbrush tool because I'm now going to enter our toggle quick mask mode. And I'm going to do this really quickly to fix any part of the selection. So you can change the size of your brush just as before. Make sure black's on top, and that's what you're going to take the black areas away with as much as you feel needed. And then you can swap the colors, get any of those red sections to kind of fix up. And if you want to be super picky, you can kind of zoom in right here to really touch it up nicely. That's all I'm going to do for now. You can take as long as you'd like to fix up the selection. You're then going to turn off the toggle quick mask and you have your leaf selection. Now these next steps are going to be the same for every single leaf you select. You're going to now click Edit, Copy, Edit, Paste to have this leaf on a floating selection layer. Remember, you're now going to click the Add New Layer button to dock that layer, Double click, you're going to rename this one Leaf 2, hit enter. Select your new layer, and we're now going to colorize this leaf. Click the hue saturation, and you're going to change the hue saturation and lightness sliders as you would like. And I'm going to go for all green, and then click OK. You will then click View, Zoom. You want to get back to 100% so we have the whole image in view. Super important step, click the bottom leaves image, and we're ready to move on to our next leaf. I'm going to go ahead and click File Save to save the work that we have done. All right, so for our next tool, we are going to use the Scissor Select tool. The Scissor Select tool is similar to what we just did with the alternate free select. But first steps first, we're going to zoom in on our third leaf. Draw a box around the next leaf you want to work with. And we're ready to go. Once again, make sure you're on this bottom leaves image. And then select your Scissor Select tool. So just like with the alternate free select, we're going to click points. But the cool thing about the Scissor Select tool is it kind of tries to read the shape of the leaf a little bit on its own. You're going to notice it's not perfect, but it's pretty cool. There you go. Click and drag points around the entire leaf. And we're going to show you how you can fix this a little bit after we're done. So I'm going to come all the way up there and notice how it kind of read the shape of the leaf. Now some students might want to go in on this leaf and call that one leaf, totally fine. Other students might see this leaf this way, totally fine. However you see the leaf, and I'm going to have some correcting to do in those places. Okay, you can see I'm back to the beginning here of my selection. So to finish up this selection, when you get back to where you started, you're going to click the first selection point, and this is going to close the selection. Now, to create the selection, you're now going to click inside of the selection or inside the leaf, and it's going to convert it to an active selection. You can see the dotted lines there. Okay, so here is where you're going to probably need to do your toggle quick mask. So click Select, Toggle Quick Mask, and you can fix any corrections. If you need to put your black on top, please do so. Click your paintbrush tool, and then you can fix up any selections. I am going to make this about a 3 will do. Have some black areas that totally need to get corrected. I'm not going to do all of my corrections just for time on the recording, but you would go ahead and correct any of those black areas that you need to add to the selection. You will then change to the white so that you can correct any of the red parts on top of the leaf. Okay, and once you have all of your corrections made, you will then click Select, turn off the Toggle Quick Mask, and it's time to put this leaf on its own layer. Repeat the steps. Edit, copy, edit, paste. You can totally use the shorthand cuts, the Control-C, Control-V. I'm just doing this for the recording. You have your floating selection layer. We need to come down, click the Add New Layer button. I didn't need to do that. And you're going to double click where it says Pasted Layer and type Leaf 3. Next step, make sure you have Leaf 3 selected. Click the Colors menu, Hue Saturation, and adjust these hue, saturation, and lightness sliders to change the color of the leaf. Click OK when you have a color you like. And get back to your bottom leaves image. Click View, Zoom, 100%, and we're ready to move on to our next selection tool. I would go ahead and save after each leaf. The last thing you want to do is lose your selection work. All right, so once again, click that bottom leaves image. All right, so we're moving on, and we're going to use our next selection tool, which is going to be the Paths tool. Now, this tool is a little bit more tedious. The first way is going to won't be so bad. So the first thing we need to do is click our zoom tool, and we're going to zoom in on another leaf. Okay, so I'm going to do this leaf here. And then once you have your leaf zoomed in on, you're going to select the Paths tool. Now we're going to click repeatedly around the edge of the leaf, and lines are going to appear between the points that we click on. You're going to add as many points as you need. So this is very similar to the scissor select tool, but it's not going to gauge the shape. We're adding these points, and you're going to see a little bit later that we can kind of drag these handles to adjust the shape. You can add as many as close together as you'd like to make a more precise shape. For sake of time on this video recording, I'm going to go a little bit faster around the edge. Now be very careful when you kind of get closer to another point. You don't want to connect them right there. Okay, now when you get back to your original starting point, you're going to hold your control key, the CTRL key on your keyboard, and click that first anchor point to finish the path. Okay. Now, down here in your tool options, you're going to click Selection from Path. Well, okay, so sorry, before you do that, if you want at any time now, you can drag these anchor points to adjust the shape of your leaf. So just keep that in mind there. Okay, so that's the one step I was missing to showing you what you can do with these points, which is different from like the scissor select tool. Okay, so now you're going to click Selection from Path, and you can see that you have the dotted lines. You still have those anchor points that you see. If you want to get rid of those, simply click the paintbrush tool. So here is where you would then enter the toggle quick mask mode, and you will kind of just fix up your selection. You know the drill. The black areas with your black on top. Just kind of clean it up. Here. Okay, and then you can go to white on top, where you can kind of shave off any of the red sections as much as you want. Now for sake of time, I'm simply going to exit our toggle quick mask. The next step, you should be getting the hang of it, is to put this on its own layer. So we're going to edit, copy, edit, paste. You can see your floating selection layer. Go ahead and click the Add New Layer button. We're going to rename this Leaf 4 and hit Enter. We will then click our Colors menu, Hue Saturation, and we are going to change the color of this leaf. Whoops, the lightness is really light. That's all right. And then we're going to click OK. We will then click View, Zoom, 100% to get back to our whole image. Click that bottom leaves image, super important. If you don't click this bottom leaves image, you will not have the layers that you need. And then we're going to save our work. And we're ready to move on to our last layer. Okay, so we actually have two more leaves to select, two more methods. This next one is probably going to be one of the trickier ways to make a selection, and it takes a lot of practice. So don't get frazzled, just try your best. First things first, we're going to click our zoom tool. We're going to draw a box around the next leaf we want to work with. Once again, be sure you're on this bottom leaves image. In your toolbox, you're going to go ahead and select the Paths tool again. Now, this time we're going to, well, the first time we used the Paths tool, we just clicked points and added straight lines. Now, there might be points right here where you want to add straight lines, but also you have the option to create curves with this tool. So what you're going to do is you'll click a starting point. And then if you click and don't let go of your mouse, you kind of drag it, you can see that I'm adding curves there. So instead of having that straight line when you just click a point, you can create a curve, okay? And then you can come to your next point and kind of click there. As well. Whoops, it kind of finished up my selection, which I did not want it to do. Okay, now there might be a time when you actually want a straighter line, like in these areas. But if there's a point where you kind of want to have a curve, you can see how I do that using these anchor handles. Just a slight curve there. To add the curve, you do not let go of your mouse. You're just going to kind of click and drag. You can rotate, see how that kind of flips the curve. If you come far out, you can see how it does it a lot. It takes a lot of practice to kind of get adjusted to how the curve works. So just try your best to practice drawing curves with your Paths tool. Going around the entire perimeter. Oops, I should have made another point there. Of your leaf. Just showing you your different options with the same tool. You can do straight points just by click, 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 or you can draw curves by clicking and dragging. There. We're almost done here. Take your time. You might be taking a lot longer than I am. That's just completely fine as you're learning these tools. Okay, now once you get back to your starting point, you're going to hold the Control key and click this first anchor point. And just like the first time, you can now click and drag any of these points to kind of adjust the selection. Now, when you have the Curves tool, this is kind of a handy option because you can really adjust those curves even a little bit more. Okay, so I'm not going to take a ton of time. That one's just going to have to get fixed. And when you're all done kind of fixing your selection there, you're going to click Selection from Path. Then click your paintbrush tool and you can see your selection. Next step, remember, is this toggle quick mask. Make sure your black's on top. You can fix any part of the selection. I'm not going to take the time to do that. Just for the recording, you will do that. Change the red on top, fix any of the red parts that you need to fix up on the top of the leaf. When you're done, click Select, turn the toggle quick mask off, And you're ready to copy and paste this selection onto its own layer. Edit, copy, edit, paste. We have our floating selection layer. We're going to click our Add New Layer button. Double click. We're going to name this one Leaf 5 and hit Enter. Make sure Leaf 5 is selected. The last step is to change the color of the leaf. When you have the color you want, click OK. You will then view, zoom, get back to our original image, which is at 100%, and get to the bottom leaves layer. Make sure you get to that bottom leaves layer, and we're ready to move on to our last selection tool. I'm going to save my work. Okay, so this last selection tool, we are going to use the foreground select tool. Okay, so first steps first, you are going to now click your zoom tool. Okay. You're then going to draw a box around the leaf that you want to colorize. I'm just doing this small one right here. And in the toolbox, you're going to click your foreground select tool. Okay. Now, with the foreground select tool, I'm going to literally click and drag to draw a selection around the leaf. This is kind of just like with that free select tool. You can either click to draw points around it just like you did, or you can click and drag to trace like with a pencil. So I'm going to do half and half just to show you the two options. So here I'm clicking and dragging just like I did, or you can add different points with straight lines. And at any time you can go back and forth between the two if you'd like, depending on what you prefer. Now, I don't want to get into my other leaf, so I'm going to do some points here. And click and drag. Now, when I get back to my starting point, I'm going to simply click this starting point to close the selection. Now, when I click this starting point, you're going to notice a big change on the screen. The foreground select mask mode, we're going to enter that mode. Okay, and now our cursor looks like a paintbrush tip. Okay, so we're now going to click and drag on the leaf to show GIMP what part of the image is the foreground. So the foreground is the interior of the leaf. So you can just repeatedly click and drag here, showing GIMP what the foreground is. So that it will recognize the areas of the selection. Okay, so once you have, you can change, well, no, don't change anything. Once you have clicked and dragged and you have about the leaves all selected, you don't want any of the purple parts on the interior. You're simply going to click enter and it's going to create your selection. Here is where you would then click select toggle quick mask. Once again, fix up any of the selection that you'd like, clicking the paintbrush tool. Just so. Going to red, you know the drill. Once you have that selection just how you like it, you'll simply exit the toggle quick mask mode. And here we go. Edit, copy, edit, paste. We're going to put this floating selection layer to a new layer, and we're going to rename this Leaf 6. Enter, we're then going to colorize using our hue, saturation, and lightness slider. and click OK. You will then click View, Zoom, get back to 100% so you have the whole leaf image in view. Get to your bottom leaves layer, super important. Let's save our work. Now, this is going to be the end of the recording, but you are not done with this image. To finish up this image, you will need to select every single leaf in the image. So every single leaf needs to be selected, put on its own layer, and then colored. So you're going to repeat what we've done in the beginning of this recording throughout this recording to every single leaf. Now from here on out, you can choose whatever selection tool you want to use. So if you want to just continue practicing using the different ones, go ahead. But if there's one that you really prefer, you can go ahead and use the one that you prefer. The end goal is that every single leaf in the image will be selected, put on its own layer, and colored. When every single leaf in the image is finished, you will be done. Okay, now I'm going to very quickly go over what you will do for the second image of the project. Now, for the second image, you're simply going to click File, Open, and you're going to go to your image design folder, your course resource files. But here, actually, I'm sorry, not your course resources, course resource files, your image design folder and your challenge images. From your challenge images, you can select any image you want. Okay, there's not one that you have to. It will be whatever you want. Okay. So once you've decided on the image you would like to work on, you are going to select and color 5 areas of the image, only 5. You're going to repeat the same steps we did in the leaves image, selecting 5 areas. They all need to be on their own layer and colored. Be sure once you put it on its own layer that you always go back to your original image before you select your second, then third, etc. part of the image. When you are done, you will save this and then you'll be ready to submit. Okay? All right, so let's pretend that I selected 5 areas. They're all on their own layer. I'm just going to type in colorized zebra and then click Save. Whoops, actually I messed up, you guys. I'm going to do that again. File, Save As. Get back to your Unit 11 folder so that you have it in your Unit 11 folder and then click Save. Then you're going to be ready to submit this assignment. So here you would then go to your image design folder, go to your course resources, open your Unit 11, make sure you have your 2 completed images, and then you can simply right click, send to, compressed zipped folder, and you're ready to submit to the Dropbox. So now we'll go into our image design class. Here you can click on Tools, Assignments, scroll down until you see the Unit 11, 11.06, Graded Assignment Practice Selection Skills. Scroll down until you're able to add a file from your computer. You can then simply drag and drop and then click Add. You will then click Submit. I will not because I don't want to grade my own work. And you will be done with the Unit 11 project. This is worth 35 points, so take your time. If you have any questions at any time, please reach out and I'd be happy to help you. Thanks for your time and good luck.